In this video, we will learn and discuss what segmentation strategies are. So, in a nutshell, what is segmentation? Well, segmentation means partitioning. It means dividing. So, when we say, we use this word a lot, when we say companies segment the market, that means that rather than treating the entire market as just one whole piece, they are dividing up the market. They are partitioning the market into several groups, clusters, so to speak. So segmentation can be defined as partitioning customers into groups. The groups here mean segments on marketing relevant basis, segmentation schemes. And we'll discuss what those marketing relevant bases may be. You can segment customers in the market based on price, based on benefits, based on demographics. The choices are rather limitless. It's just a matter of what your company thinks that it's the best way to segment the group. So why do we need to engage in segmentation? Well, it's because one marketing mix does not satisfy all customers, right? I mean, every customer has a different need. Nobody's the same. We're all different. And that means that, demand is heterogeneous, not homogeneous, right? Heterogeneous means that they're all different. Therefore, having one type of product or having one price for everything, having one, distribution channel, may not work. Why? Because everyone has different needs. Well, if that's the case, then in an ideal world, if resources were not a constraint, a company would be best off if they could customize everything, all their marketing, all their products. So if there's, let's say, 10,000 customers in a market, and all these 10,000 customers have different needs, like I said, in an ideal world, a company would probably want to have 10,000 different type of products. That, even if there's subtle differences, minor differences, because we're all different, customers would appreciate that. But that's in theory. But in reality, in practicality, we know that, that's just not possible. That's not feasible. Why? Because it's just, it's too expensive. There's no way that a company can develop 10,000 products where, every product is for every customer. One-to-one marketing, a lot of the times, is just not feasible because of operational issues, because of resource issues, because of cost issues. So what are the type of segmentations that are widely used out there in the world? Well, the first is demographic segmentation. Well, demographic segmentation means you're dividing up the customers based on demographic information, such as age, such as gender, such as income, such as zip code. Such as education, or even, religion, ethnic background, and so forth. These are all demographic information that are easily observable. Psychographic means, these are more based on values, attitudes, or even lifestyle differences. These are more intangible. These are more difficult to observe. Nonetheless, very important. And then behavior segmentation means based on people's behavior. Are they occasional users? Are they frequent users? Are they light users? Are they heavy users? And so forth. Benefit segmentation means, depending on the benefits, what kind of benefits do products provide? So for toothpaste, is it, cavity protection? Is it tartar control? Is it for whitening? Is it for, to give you clean breath? Different toothpaste provide different benefits, and some customers are more focused on certain benefits than others when buying products. So I guess I just gave you a lot of examples, so I won't repeat myself, but another segmentation that's widely used is price segmentation, right? Price segmentation. So, you divide the segment based on customers' willingness to pay. And a good example is the airline industry, right? So the airline industry segments customers based on their willingness to pay for different tickets in an airplane. So economy class, so coach class, or business class, or first class. Nowadays, a lot of airlines have added a fourth segment based on price, which is like premium economy. So it's something like in between economy class and business class. So they give you, I don't know, 4 inches, 6 inches more leg room, a little more comfy seats, a little slightly better meals and stuff like that. So, and they charge you slightly more. So this would be an example of a premium economy class. We talked about benefit segmentation. Usage intensity that's like behavioral segmentation, right? Based on, whether you're a light user, you're a moderate user, you're a heavy user, and so forth. And then usage occasion. Do you use, a product or service for everyday use, or is it for special moments only, like maybe a couple times a year? Or do you use this on a regular, casual basis? So let's dig a little bit deeper into each of these. So like I said, demographics, these are based on measurable population attributes that are easily, they're observable, and, they're a lot of times they're kind of like public information to a certain extent. Age, income, gender, occupation, education, religion, ethnic background, where you live, your zip code, all of these things would fall under demographic segmentation. Now, why do companies engage in demographic segmentation? Well, it's because companies believe that, if you are in similar age group, then you're going to, react similarly. You're going to have similar needs. People in their 30s will have similar needs compared to people in their 50s or 60s. If you have similar education, then again, you'll have similar leads. Occupation, same story. Income, also, people who are making $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 or above, they have similar needs based on their income bracket. So these are some of the easy ways that companies can divide the market into different groups based on these measurable segmentation, characteristics. Benefit segmentation focuses on the value equation, which is, value is defined as benefits over price, or another way of expressing that is benefits minus price. So it's based on understanding the problem a product solves, the benefit it offers, delivers, or the issue it addresses. So like I said, products and services are meant to provide benefits, right? Because people are seeking benefits to solve their problems. So going back to the toothpaste example, different people have different needs when they, buy a toothpaste. And that's how they can segment the customers based on the different benefits that people are seeking. Psychographic segmentation. So this, like I said, this is based on, attitudes, values, and lifestyles. So this is a little bit more difficult to observe. Why? Because they're not tangible, right? They're not just, physical in nature. These are more intangible. They reside inside people's, minds or hearts. Therefore, you may have to do some type of survey, some type of interview. You may have to observe the type of products or services that they subscribe to sort of extract, and understand the lifestyles that people pursue, or the values that people, hold, or the attitudes that people have. So, for example, Porsche, the luxury German, sports car company Porsche, they divide, their customers into these 5 segments, and this can be based on, value or lifestyle. So these are just the labels that they use. Top Guns, 27%. They classify these type of customers as people who are ambitious. They desire power and they like control. 24% are called elitists. Old money, right? Old money. Car is just a car. 23% proud patrons. Car is it's a reward for their hard work. So I worked hard. I deserve a luxury sports car. So the 17% are bon vivants. So car is for excitement, adventure, adrenaline. That would probably fit, the image of Porsche fairly well. And then the remaining 9% is fantasists. So these people, desire cars because it's a means to escape from society. It's a means to escape from reality. So when they're in their car and they're driving, they go into this mindset where they're in their own world. So it's a form of escaping from reality, the real world. So Porsche is able to divide the market into these 5, and then if they know Tom as a customer where he falls under, then they know that Tom pursues these type of values or lifestyles, and therefore they're able to tailor their advertising strategies or train their salespeople to approach customers and interact with them in different ways, depending on where a customer would fall into one of these 5 categories. Behavior segmentation, the focus is on whether people purchase a product or not, how much, right? So that's like the intensity, how much they use it, and how often they use it. So usage rates would be a classic example. Heavy, medium, light, non-user. That's pretty, self-explanatory. Or user status, potential user, non-user, ex-user, right? Or regulars, first-timers, users of competitors' products. So these are dividing the customers based on the status of the user. And we have what's called the 80-20 rule, and many of you may have heard of this, right? 80-20 rule, or the law of disproportionality, or Pareto's law of 80, which says Pareto's law, which says that 80% of a company's revenues, right, the bulk of a company's revenues, can be explained by a small portion of the customers, by 20%. Maybe in today's world, maybe it could be even 90-10%, depending on the nature of the company. You can maybe even say it's not 80-20, it could be 90-10 rule, So 90% of the company's revenue sales are accounted for by, about 10% of the customers. So this means that, there's really heavy users that are very focused and concentrated, whereas the remaining 80 or 90% of the customers are light users. They're occasional users, right? They're not diehard core loyalists, so to speak. Another way to sort of understand this is, and you've probably seen this a lot in the hotel industry, in the airline industry, in the credit card industry, where the companies divide the customers into different groups like platinum group, gold, iron, lead, and depending on the usage, intensity. So if you're a heavy user, and a heavy user implies that you're paying a lot over time for the service, then you would be classified as a platinum. If you do very little, then you'd be lead or bronze. So I guess instead of iron and lead, a lot of companies use silver and bronze. So a bronze would be it's an average user, whereas a gold or platinum would be heavy users that contribute significant amount of profitability and revenue to the company. So how do you define a good segmentation scheme? What are some of the attributes that would define effective segmentation criteria? There's 5. It's measurable. The segment has to be measurable. You have to be able to measure it, right? Measuring means you have to get a good firm handle on it. Like how big is it? What are they made up of? When did the segment come about? How long do you think is this just a fad? So these are measurable stuff. Substantial. So that's this substantial specifically refers to the size. Is it a small segment? Is it a big segment? A segment may be profitable, but if it's too small, maybe some companies may not consider. Why? Because this may not be worth it. And then the third is accessibility. Is it accessible? If a segment is physically too far away and we can't get our products, delivered there, we can't have inventory in that market. Why? Because it's inaccessible. Then that's not good. The fourth is differentiable. Is that segment different from another segment, right? So if there's 2 segments A and B and they're not differentiable, that means that there's no need to have 2 segments, right? Then you can just collapse the 2 and have one segment. So a good segment, one of the important criteria for a good segment is they have to be different from other segments, or else there's no need to have that segment. The fifth criteria is actionable, right? Can you actually act upon this, implement your strategies based on that segmentation, based on that segment? So can you develop a product? Can you form a marketing communication? Can you logistically carry the product and deliver the product so that it'll be available to the customer? So can you take action to a segment by leveraging and utilizing your marketing plan, your products, your promotions, and so forth? So that's what we mean by actionable. Okay, let's move on to targeting now. So once we've segmented the customers, then the next step is, well, we have to go after either one segment or multiple segments. Right? So if segmentation is about dividing and partitioning the market, targeting means we're going to target and attack. All right, we're going to focus on either one or more segments that that we have. So once consumer segments have been identified, a decision must be made about which segment to go after, right? To chase. That's what targeting basically is. This assumes that not all segments will have the same needs and wants, right? And this requires efficiency in a firm's resource allocation, because sometimes we can't, although we've divided the market into 5 segments. For whatever reason it is, we may not be able to target all 5. We may only be able to target a subset of these 5. Why? Because we have resource constraints, and we have to be concerned about efficiency. So, what is the process of targeting? Well, it's identify and profile the distinct groups of buyers who differ in their needs and preferences, right? And then select one or more market segments to enter. And then establish and communicate the distinctive benefits of the market offering to that particular segment that you've decided to target. Right? So it's a natural process from segmentation to targeting. So once you've divided the market, then you target the market that you believe that your product will have the greatest chance of success, right? And in order to do that, you have to establish and communicate the unique benefits that your market offering can provide compared to the competition in that particular segment that you're targeting. So what are some of the criteria that one has to consider when you engage in targeting? Well, the first one is there has to be congruency, right? Alignment, a match between a firm's capabilities and the benefits sought after by that segment, right? So a segment may be seeking certain benefits, but if the firm does not have the skill sets, if they don't have the resources, they don't have the technology, in other words, all these capabilities to deliver on that benefit that's sought after by that particular segment, then although it may look like a very lucrative and promising segment, it may not be the right segment to target. Why? Because there's misalignment. The ability to leverage skills and resources, right? I just explained that. And then consistent with who we are as a firm, true to our brand identity. So we want to target a customer in that particular segment that matches who we are as a company. So for instance, if I am a luxury car company, a luxury German car company, I do not want to target customers for a particular segment that, although it may be big, although it may be very different, although it may be accessible, that doesn't have the income or that the demographic profiles of those customers, they don't fit with what our brand stands for as a luxury car company. Then we're doing more harm than good. Although the size of the segment may be big, although the segment may be very distinct from other segments that we currently do business in, there's not a good match between who we are as a company, what our brand stands for in terms of our brand identity, and the true nature of that segment. And then the last but not least, who are we competing with, right? I mean, if it's a cutthroat, very mature segment, and it's like a bloodbath, and there's very intense competition. Maybe that's something, then that segment we shouldn't be targeting. We should maybe revisit it later on. So competition comes into play as well. So effective targeting, this slide shows you that instead of using the same marketing mix to target segments 1, 2, and 3, you would want to develop different marketing mixes that correspond to different segments. And then based on the criteria that we just talked about, you'd want to target the segments that aligns with our capabilities, that has less competitors, that fits with our company's brand identity, and so forth. So target market strategy options. So the first one is standardized global marketing or undifferentiated target marketing. So some of the characteristics that would define this type of target market strategy would be mass marketing on a global scale, standardized marketing mix. In other words, we're not changing our marketing mix, we're standardizing it. There's very little adaptation. There's very minimal product adaptation. So we're not changing the product, but we're standardizing it, and we're doing this on a mass scale, which then eventually it's going to lower our cost. And since we only have basically one product that's standardized, it's going to lead to a lower communication cost. The next is concentrated global marketing. So this is being really focused. It's a niche marketing targeting strategy where we're just focusing on one single segment of the global market. So we're looking for depth as opposed to breadth, right? Since you're only going to focus on one single segment, and whatever that segment may be, and we're not going after multiple segments, it's more about depth as opposed to breadth. So some examples, maybe Chanel or Estee Lauder, where compared to other, cosmetic companies, these brands are laser focused, and they're concentrating on a single segment for females that have the purchasing power to buy these expensive, cosmetics, and that are looking for, physical beauty through these brands. The third one is called the differentiated, global marketing target market strategy. And as opposed to the former, the one that we just talked about, the concentrated strategy, this is targeting multiple segments, right? Multi-segment targeting. So it's more than one. So it's two or more. They're targeting two or more distinct markets. And now breadth matters, right? So you're trying to cover a wider market through such targeting strategies. So a good example would be, Toyota and Lexus, right? So Toyota uses their Toyota brand to target, the mainstream, the mass market, whereas Lexus is more focused on the upscale, the premium market. Same thing with what Honda and Acura is doing, and that would apply to Nissan and Infiniti as well. So they're using different communication strategies. They're using different products. The quality of the products are different price points, and they're targeting different customers in different segments that have different purchasing power, that have more income, that are looking for different things in a car. So that would qualify as a differentiated target market strategy.